So Vikas Prabhu will lead the class. So Hare Krishna, Vikas Prabhu, please take over the program. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, for allowing me this opportunity to serve the Lord and His devotees. Before we begin, we'll start with Mangalacharan prayers. So, the two Matajis, if you want to chant the Mangalacharan prayers for all of us. Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhuji. ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful recitation. I mean, I am told to lead the class, but there is no such thing as leading the class. This is a discussion, so I'm happy to have everyone join in and participate in the discussion, recitation of the verses, the reading of the purports, etc., and also in the discussion. So, Hladhardas Prabhu, would you please guide us as to the recitation of verse 54?
Dhanyavad Prabhu. Hare Krishna. It's chapter 18, text number 54, page number 694 on English Bhagavad Gita. So the wording guy, Brahma Bhutaha Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samaha sarva bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Brahma Bhutaha Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Hare Krishna. Please try it.
Hare Krishna. ब्रह्मभूतः प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्. हरे कृष्ण.
ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्. हरे कृष्ण.
Any other devotee who would like to recite? Okay. ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु madbhaktim labhate param. Hare Krishna. Would anybody else like to give a try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. You can try. ब्रह्मभूतप्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It is quite appropriate that we end with you, Mataji, so that the beauty with which and the sweetness with which you recite these verses stay with us. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. This is very popular verse and we all know that.
Yeah. So today we will try to cover both 54 and 55 since they go hand in hand. So, Radhardas Prabhu, if you want to lead us into the recitation of verse 55 as well.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato ma tatvato gnatva vishate tat anantaram. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tat anantaram. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srimati is reading. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yashchashmi tattatah tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vichate tad anantaram. Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishati tad anantaram.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्. Hare Krishna.
Any other devotee? Okay. So we will go through the reading of word for word and then the translation of the words and the reading of the purports sequentially for 54 and 55. Devotees, if you would like to break it up amongst yourself as to how to go about doing the readings, those who have the book in front of them or those who have the verses open on their cell phones, please participate. So, Hladhardas Prabhu, would you want to read the word for word and the translation?
Yes, sir. I'll do it. The Brahma Bhuta, being one with the Absolute. Prasanna Atma, fully joyful. No, never. Sochati, laments. No, never. Kankshati, desires. Samaha, equally disposed. Sarveshu, to all. Bhuteshu, living entity. Mad Bhaktim, my devotional service. Labate, gain. Param, transcendental. Translation. Translated by Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Hare Krishna.
Srimati Mataji, would you want to read the purport? Is Rakshita Mataji there with you?
No, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, it's only me today. So,
It's okay, go ahead, Mataji.
yes, Prabhuji. Purport by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahma-Bhuta stage, becoming one with the Absolute, is the last word. But for the personalist, or pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a state of liberation, called Brahma-Bhuta, oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute, one cannot render service unto him. In the absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor, yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Would like to read some. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is mystery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, living being, living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleans uh, of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain because he is full in the service of Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let me continue, Prabhuji. He has no desire for material enjoyment because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are empirical, and the devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. This is the Brahma Bhuta stage, and this stage is attained very easily by the pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents' teeth that are broken. As there is no fear of the serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is good as Vaikunta or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material university is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We will also read the word for word translation and purport for the next word. The purport is a little bit longer, so other devotees, if you want to join in, please feel free to help out and participate. So, Haladardas Prabhu, please go ahead with the word for word and translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Bhaktya, by pure devotional service, me, abhijanati, one can know Yavan as much as Yatya Asmi, as I am, Tatvataha, in a truth, Tata, thereafter, me, Tatvataha, in a truth, Jnatva, knowing, Vishate, he enters, Tat antaram, thereafter. Translation by Prabhupada Ki Jai. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only by devotional service And when one is in the full consciousness of me, by such a devotion he can enter into the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna. Read the
Hare-
translation, please.
Yeah,
Read
Hare
the
Krishna. Feel free to take the leads, devotees, on your own.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
go ahead.
Yes, Srimati is reading. Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shamarasika is reading. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such a knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In the spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness, but in pure Krishna consciousness, one should not mistakenly think that the word Vijati enters into me. Suppose the monist theory that one becomes harmonious with the impersonal Brahman. Hare Krishna. Valli Mataji would like to read. Okay.
Yeah, Mataji, I can read. Brahman, impersonal Brahman. So, no, Visate means that one can enter into the abode of Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keep his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same, the same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. After attainment of the Brahmabhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahmabhuta stage develops and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord and by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is a statement of Srimad Bhagvatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this, aprayanat tatrapi idrishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. Hare Krishna.
Hmm. Beautiful, very nice.
Hare Krishna. Uh, so I don't assume or make that presumption that I am only supposed to speak about these two verses. They are very profound verses. There is so much written and talked about both these verses, uh, and I am completely incapable of talking about them. But as a service, I am going to make an attempt. So please be kind to me. Please bestow your mercy on me. Uh, when we think about anything, when we have to receive something, we have to first place ourselves in a position to receive it. So if suppose there is something being given out somewhere, you first need to be in that place. Similarly, when Krishna is talking about these two verses, we need to bring our consciousness to the level where we can actually understand what he is talking about. So, uh, in order for me to do that, or for all of us to make such an endeavor, please bear with me because I'll be going a little bit into elaboration of what we've discussed so far, and then we'll talk about these two verses. So, as you can, if you reflect on Bhagavad Gita, the chapter one is all about Arjuna talking about the army and what he sees on the battlefield, about his feelings, etc. And in chapter two, when the Lord really starts talking about Bhagavad Gita, the very first thing he tells Arjuna is, "What are you lamenting about? What you're lamenting for is not something that is worth lamenting for because you are thinking like a body, you are a soul, and you need to think like a soul." Uh, the second words the 12th words of the second chapter very specifically says that every living entity, every person that you see on the battlefield, yourself and me, myself, we all are eternal. We were eternal in the past, we are eternal now, and we will be eternal even in the future. Right there, in that words itself, Krishna is saying, even after death, even after liberation, we remain eternal. Okay? So, what this tells us is, whenever we think of, hear of, read of, contemplate on anything that is in Bhagavad Gita as a body and as somebody who, uh, you know, uh, why is it saying like this? I don't like it. I feel like this. We are thinking like a body. This is a baggage that we are carrying. And we need to elevate ourselves from that bodily thinking to the level of a soul that has, that is, just think of it. Before, if your age is say 25, 50, 75, whatever, then before 25 years, before 50 years, before 75 years, you are neither the man nor the woman that you are. You are neither the young child, an adult, or an old person. You were neither Indian nor American nor of any other nationality. You neither spoke the mother tongue you speak or any other language if you speak today, you did not call the parents, the siblings, the friends, the society as your society because that reality was not there before the birth. It only came after the birth. So it is all bodily. The liking that we've started with and inculcated in our thinking, the disliking that we've started with and inculcated in our thinking is also bodily. So we need to come out of it. A quick example I'll give you is just think of it as person A goes around and lives like person B. Into normal world, we say, oh, that's madness. If suppose I think that I am Barack Obama and I act like Barack Obama, I'll be put into a mental institution. Similarly, this world is no different from it because that person A, our Atma, is going around and thinking that we are this body, the person B. And until we come out of this madness of thinking that we are the body, we cannot really understand who we are and we cannot even understand what our position is. We cannot understand who our original family is because that madness is overpowering. Another example that is talked about in scriptures is it's like a dream. As soon as you awake from the dream no longer exists. But within the dream, everything feels so real. Within the dream, you are not thinking that I am lying down. Sometimes we get that way. Actually, if you watch through the dream and you are aware of your dreams a little bit, sometimes you think, oh, am I dreaming or am I not? Right? That kind of perception may be there in devotees because they would be thinking, is this real or is this not? And how do I come out of it? But the dream for most of us continues. What we are talking about is how to break that dream. So Bhagavad Gita is nothing else but a GPS for us because it tells us where we are based on chapter 17 and 18 where we were told, or chapter 16 we were told that there is divine nature and there is demoniac nature. Then we were told that we are all influenced by three modes of material nature. We were told what kind of faith, food, sacrifices, austerities, penances we perform and how they are influenced by the modes of nature. We were again told what kind of actions we perform, what kind of actor we are, what kind of determination we have, what kind of understanding we have. So all of these things have been told. And then Krishna also says in verses 40 to 50 that all four varnas are influenced by these modes. So no matter what kind of nature I was born with, I will be influenced by these modes. uh, my faith, my food, my penances, sacrifices, my austerities, my activities, my determination, my understanding, my happiness, all of this is going to be influenced. It doesn't mean that a Brahmana is always in goodness and it's completely, overtaken by goodness. He is influenced by all three modes. Different times during the day, we act out in ignorance. Different times during the day, we act out in goodness and passion. So while we are influenced by this, it tells us where we are. If we are really objective and very incisive in thinking, we can figure out where we stand. And this is not a race, it's our own individual journey. Everybody is on that individual journey. So we just need to know where we are. Then Bhagavad Gita gives us a roadmap to what? To where we need to go. And the destination is now being clarified by the Lord. I mean, He said, come out of it, come to me all the time. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, He's been saying that. But the destination is being clearly laid out by the Lord in verses 54, 55, then verses 61 to 63, and then later on in verses 65 and 66. And you will read in later verses that what Krishna then describes is verses up to 55, from 49 to 55, is, he says, it is confidential knowledge. Why? Because they describe how we can get from a Jiva Bhut, like being aware as a body, Jiva Bhuta stage, to a Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Bhuta is when we are self-realized. We realize that we are a soul, that we have nothing to do with this material world. So that realization is the first stage in understanding the Lord, because you are, in a crude example, you've come to the palace of the king. You cannot even serve the king unless you are in the palace. So you need to at least come to that stage. So Brahma Bhuta is that stage. And when everyone around us is thinking like they are the souls, they all are on the Brahma Bhuta stage. When that soul, it's not a physical position of, where we are. When that soul is in that awareness or consciousness of a body, it is in the Jiva Bhuta state. So nothing changes, but our awareness changes. So you're lying on the bed, nothing changes. When your eyes are closed, you're in sleeping and you're dreaming. And when your eyes are open, you're still on the bed. But now it's a different reality. So the reality itself changes with that consciousness. So that's the first step. The second step in 61 and 63, the Lord is going to describe is the knowledge of super soul. And he says in those verses, and Prabhupada writes in the purport, that the Lord says this is more confidential knowledge. And then the Lord goes to verses 65 and 66, where he speaks of Paramatma himself. Sorry, not Paramatma, as Bhagwan. So he speaks of himself as the supreme proprietor, the creator to whom we need to surrender. And that is the most confidential part. And we will see why and how the conversation progresses from here to that. And now we can understand, because sometimes, we think, why is the Lord saying, oh, that was also confidential, this is also confidential, that is also confidential. So what is confidential? No, there is a deep meaning behind it. So in Srimad Bhagvatam, it is very clearly said that to understand the Lord, there are three stages: Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, iti shabdyate. So we are now being told about the Brahma Bhuta state. So, and in this journey, the roadmap that Bhagavad Gita has given, it talks about Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, are the ways to which we can go from Jiva Bhuta stage to the Brahma Bhuta stage. And Bhagavad Gita also says, while we are giving you different routes to your destination, Bhakti is the best. And within that also, Bhakti of the personal form is the best. So just like a GPS, Bhagavad Gita is giving you multiple routes, then it is saying this is the best route for you to take. So that is a very quick background of what is being talked about here. Maybe a little bit here on chapter 18 itself. Why did Arjuna even start by saying, what do you mean by Tyaga and Sannyasa? So just if you go back a little bit into verses, the chapter 17 and the preceding verses, what the Lord has said is, no matter what kind of sacrifice, penance, and charity we perform, we are all influenced by the three modes. You cannot give up these, but you should perform these with faith and in relation to, relate everything to the Lord by saying Om Tat Sat or being aware of Om Tat Sat. So Arjun Maharaj is actually understanding. He's saying, if everything is contaminated and everything needs to be, in relation to the Lord, and the Lord being the supreme proprietor, and He is the one who's guiding. He's already said in chapter 13, verse 23, that I am the Anumanta, I am the Upadrashta and Anumanta. So that is, he is the overseer and he is the permitter. So Arjuna is very naturally saying, so what is it that I can tyag? What can I renounce? And what is sannyasa? What is that order of renunciation? Because there is, if you really understand as a soul, There is no such thing as tyaga and renunciation. Nothing belongs to us. We are thinking it belongs to us. If only something belongs to us, can there be tyaga of what I belong? This belongs to me, so I'm going to give it up. Nothing belongs to us. What can you renunciate? So, tyaga and renunciation truly comes to its perfection only when we understand that there is no such thing as tyaga and renunciation. It was only in the bodily state. It is an important concept. Until we are in the bodily state, we should progressively think about tyaga and renunciation. But in the Brahma Bhuta stage, what is there to renounce? You are a soul. The soul does not even carry intelligence. It does not carry mind. It does not have the body. It cannot on its own act. It requires an instrument to act. That instrument is the body. It requires energy, which is the prana, which makes that instrument act. It requires a software, which is the mind and the brain, its CPU. Without this, the soul cannot even act out in this world. So we need to understand that none of this belongs to us. So renunciation and tyaga, in that sense, are concepts that patch us from the bodily state of mind to the Brahmabhuta stage. But once you are in the Brahmabhuta stage, you will even understand that what is, this concept itself is a not a relevant concept. So actually, you will now understand the depth to which our Vaishnavism has gone in to understand bhakti, because Rupa Goswami has said, and I think in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that there is no such thing as renunciation. What you think as renunciation is falgu. Once you understand that everything belongs to the Lord and you use what is around us for the service of the Lord, that is the best form of renunciation. So what he's saying is, whatever we see around us, whatever we are given with, the language, the facilities, the strength in the body, the wealth around us, the family and friends around us, the position we have in society, when we use that for the Lord, then that is renunciation. When we use it for ourselves, that is our bodily, Bhuta state. And we need to progressively cut that thinking that this belongs to me and this is for me. So that's where we are. Now we come to the stage of Brahma Bhuta, and in this stage, there are verses 51 to 53 describe how to remain in that stage, or how to, what are the milestones in this journey from Jeev Bhut to Brahma Bhut stage. So, it says that Vishadin Tattva. So you should slowly give up your attachment to different senses. Then Raga Dvesho Vidasita. So cannot have attachment or hatred. But you can see, as a soul, you cannot have any of this. Vivikta Sevi, that he is living in a secluded place. What does that even mean? What it means is, when you are an Atma, and you think like an Atma, it doesn't matter how much crowd there is for you, around you. You are always dwelling inside, because you know that you are an Atma, you are not this body. Now we can truly understand what Lord is saying when he says in chapter 2, I think verse 56 or 57, he says, we need to act out like a tortoise. So as an Atma, the way the tortoise keeps its limbs inside, and only puts his head out and the limbs out to eat something, to evacuate or do whatever. Similarly, those who are truly the souls, are able to control their senses and only use the senses for devotional service, and to keep their body attached to the soul, so that in this birth we can use the body again to perform devotional service. So that is the meaning behind the using of the senses as a tortoise uses its limbs. There is another example given. While we are in this material world, we should remain aloof, aloof like the leaf of the lotus. that is in the water, muddy water, but the water doesn't touch it. The leaf still remains pure. So this is what is being said. This is the stage of Brahma Bhuta. Now, once we are in that kind of thinking and mindset, we can now understand uh, these two verses. So Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So we have taken time to explain what Brahma Bhuta means. Now let's talk about Prasannatma. What does Prasannatma mean? In a simplistic sense, Prasannatma means uh, one who's fully in bliss. What is this bliss that is being talked about? It is the bliss of just coming out of, suppose you are for years and decades, you've been put into a mental asylum and now you've been cured and you've been given uh, the freedom to come out of that mental asylum. It is that kind of prasannatma, that is the peace and happiness that you are enjoying at that stage. In another example, so while that is happiness, and again, what do we mean by happiness? So we know that, there are three modes of material nature. They cause us three different types of pains. So tapa, adhyatmic, adhibhautik, and adhidevic. Adhyatmic is we ourselves cause it to ourselves. The jiva is causing to its action whatever it causes to itself. It inflicts pain on ourselves. Adhibhautik is everything around us is causing it. And adhidevik is somebody else through their actions and interactions has set in motion certain things, and that is causing pain to us. So every living entity, when it is in Jiva Bhuta, is inflicted by these three types of tapa. Tapa is something that creates mental agony. So these three things are there. So once you are in the Brahma Bhuta state, you are free from these three tapas, and that itself is so uh, blissful to not have to think of this tapa. What else is this happiness? Because every living entity in the Jiva Bhuta stage goes through the perception, because the soul is not being born, but the feeling of birth is being experienced by it. So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. So all these four, birth, old age, disease, and death, every soul has to experience. So the soul is even freed from these four miseries. That is being called as Prasannatma. In one way, not having the negative infinity affect you and just being at zero is called Prasannatma. Because the Lord now says, imagine there is Mad Bhakti Labate Param. This is not the end. There is so much more ahead of it. There is a positive infinity in front of it. So even when we are fully blissful as Atma, Brahma Bhut Prasannatma, that is not the end. And that's why Prabhupada very rightly says that this may be the end. Like just coming to zero may itself be a huge achievement for someone who's an impersonalist. But for bhaktas, we understand the way it was a huge infinity on the negative side. We are now, again, this is just an example, at the soul level, there is no such thing as negativity or negative or positive infinity. But from an example perspective, once you are at Brahma Bhuta, the journey ahead from there is like traveling through the positive infinity in front of you. There is so much more that has to happen. So that is what we mean by Prasannatma, at least in the context here, that there is more to come. Prasannatma also means that when can we really be prasanna? When we've realized ourselves, when we are self-situated, we are situated in our own true understanding. So that's what is Brahma Bhut Prasannatma. And of course, at that stage, na shochati na kamshati, because that whatever we are lamenting for and whatever we are desiring, we realize that that was all about the body and the matter. But we are not the matter. We are not afflicted by matter. So there is no question of Shotati or Kamshati. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. You now understand that even somebody who perhaps, in the worst kind of example, is somebody who maybe, is after our life and trying to kill us. Even that person, a Brahma Bhuta person will understand that that person is a soul. That soul is tormented by the material modes, and therefore it is in a certain type of thinking and feeling and willing, and therefore it is acting out as if it wants to kill me, but I cannot be killed. What will happen is the sword will come, it will hit my neck, and my neck will sever, some blood will spurt, and I will move to another body. So that is how the Brahma Bhuta person is, and therefore the summer vision, the equalness that they see in all beings. At that stage, they realize that, we generally, if we are normal and we are not so afflicted by jealousy and envy, then we don't really say, oh, this person is wearing Prada and that person is wearing this kind of cloth or that kind of cloth, etc. We don't distinguish like that. We don't distinguish somebody for, having a small car, a big car, or a good-looking car, or a fast-running car, etc. And neither do we actually feel bad if I caught a train at 7 o'clock and somebody is catching the train at 7:15 or whatever. So it doesn't matter to us, truly speaking, what kind of surrounding we have. Similarly, the Brahma Bhuta Atma is understanding that everybody has this body or this vehicle, and it is all a different vehicle. So it doesn't matter whether you are an insect, you are a bird, you are a reptile, you are an animal, you are a human, what kind of human you are, whether your human body allows you a very good intelligence or bad intelligence, whether it is too good looking or it is not good looking, doesn't matter. It actually is able to see the soul in it. It doesn't see there because it is not seeing the body, it is also not, or it is sort of ignoring the action of that body. It only has compassion because just imagine if you are truly somebody who's coming out of a mental asylum, then you will feel a compassion for every other inmate of that asylum. You would not feel animosity. You will just have compassion. Hey, how can I bring this person out of this madness? So that is the sama. That is the level of thinking of sama sarveshu bhuteshu. I have gone through this pain. I have realized it. Let me bring these other people out. Let me give them that kind of knowledge and understanding, and let me help them. That actually is sama, because once you understand you are a soul, nothing else is sama. Sama is not about I am a millionaire, so everyone should become a millionaire, or I am healthy, so everyone should become healthy. That is not sama. At the soul's level of sama, you now understand what is it that I am supposed to do. This is where Srimati Mataji's quote today was so important. Krishna consciousness is so precious and our life is so short, we need to start thinking about it. If we are again coming back to the example 25, 50, 75 years of life, and if suppose 100 is the limit, then the reverse happens. You have 75, 50, or 25 years ahead of you to perfect this Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there is again going to be Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Again, we will be afflicted, maybe with a slightly better consciousness. But try not to get into that circle again. Anyway, so moving from there, so that was Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, no shochati na kankshati, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, mad bhaktim labhate param. So at this stage, bhakti happens to us. Now, some quick points here that I explained the happiness as being, uh, you know, uh, not having the negative. That itself gives you so much happiness. So, what this means is those people who have come to the Brahma Bhuta stage through jnana, through dhyana, and through Karma Yoga, they all have come. They've not necessarily thought of the Lord and the devotional service to the Lord, but they come to the self-realization stage. And a bhakta comes to the self-realization stage because we know that there are 9 stages of bhakti. So, chapter 18, verse 54 becomes a realized reality for us when we are at the 4th stage of bhakti, which is first is Shraddha, second is Sadhu Sangha, third is Bhajana Kriya, and then fourth is Anartha Nivritti. This Brahma Bhuta stage is equal to Anartha Nivritti. What has happened is Anarthas have gone away. Material miseries have gone away. Anartha Nivritti has happened. So there are 5 stages of bhakti ahead of us. That is what Krishna is saying. Mad bhakti labate param. From here, in our devotional activities, we will. So, first of all, those who have come through karma, jnana, and dhyana yoga will realize that there is so much more that they can do as soul, and their journey will begin from there. And the bhakta will understand, and in his devotional practices, you will start to now have nishtha, asakti, ruchi, bhava, and then prem. These are the other 5 stages of bhakti. So, chapter 18, verse 54 just brings us up to that anartha nivritti stage of bhakti. So, we have to understand how deep bhakti is and how deeply our uh, acharyas have thought about it. Another way to look at this is, oh, okay, so just to give you an example, why people won't stop there and how they move ahead. So, Shukdev Goswami from birth was a perfected being. He had no attachment to the home, to his parents, and he renounced everything right at birth itself. But he himself, when his father called him and said, I am going to narrate the Bhagvatam, he, Atmaram, Atmaram is someone who revels in his own identity as Atma. He was attracted to the devotional service. The verse in Srimad Bhagvatam is Atma Ramashcha Munayo Nirgrantha Api Urukrame Kurvanti Ahetukim Bhaktin Itham Bhuta Gunohari. Why? Because the word used is Itham Bhuta Gunohari. He is so full of potency and different types of sweetness and rasas. He is in a different place. The Lord is explained as Akhil Rasamrit Sindhu. All types of rasas are in him in immense quantity, immeasurable quantity. So, even Atma Ramas like Shukdev Goswami and the 4 Kumaras who are actually Brahma Bhuta and who are in, uh, they wanted to remain in Brahman state. But when they went to Vaikuntha and they just smelled the tulsi leaves at the feet of Lord Narayana, they got bhaktas. They became bhaktas at that stage. So this is what is being said, and this is the importance that all of these, evolved beings actually begin their bhakti journey from there. So this is now just imagine how merciful Prabhupada and this entire movement is that they are saying just get into bhakti because you are already in the line, you are already in the queue. And at some stage you will come to that 4th stage of anartha nivritti, but you also know that beyond that you are ahead, going ahead. You would not stop at the 4th stage. You will go all the way to the 9th stage. And why is this bhakti so attracting? So in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, there are given 7 different uh, qualities of bhakti. So it is kleshagni, so it takes away the miseries. It is shubhada, it is auspicious, it brings good things to us. It is moksha laghuta krita, that means it belittles liberation. So let's take a pause here because it is that moksha lagutakrita is close to the verse 54. And somebody who knows Damodarashtakam, can you please recite verses 3 to 5 of that verse? So starting with Itidrik Swalilabhi. Sumati Mataji, if you are there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Verses 3 to 5, Prabhuji. Damodarashtakam.
Yeah, Itidrik Swalilabhi Anand Kunde.
Okay, Prabhuji. Iti Trikshalilaberanandakunde Sagosham Nimajantam Akhyapayantam Tadiyeshitagneshu Bhaktashitatam Vala Prematastam Shataviti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadim Va Nachanyam Vrineham Vareshadapiha Idam deva purinatha gopala balam sada me manasya virastam kim idam te mukham bhojam matyanta niler vritam kuntale snigdharatasya gopya mohushchumbitam bimbarat naganam me manasya virastam alam lakshalabhay.
Thank you, Mataji. So now we can actually understand what is Satyavrat Muni saying. He is at the Brahma Bhuta stage, but he is saying, Oh Lord, don't give me, don't even by mistake give me. I just don't want liberation. Not only I don't want liberation, I don't even want Vaikuntha because I just want to serve you. Forget about serving you. I just want to see you. I just want to continuously see you. See your beautiful Balamukunda face. That is the kind of happiness that comes from here. And it is Sudurlabha. It doesn't come very easily. There are other three qualities. It is Sadranand, as it gives intense ecstasies. So, we find ecstasy in this world, but that is very crude. It is of the body, it's not of the soul. Now imagine having ecstasies of the soul that are continuous and intense, million times intense. That is the kind of ecstasy we would get from Prem Bhakti once we get to that level of bhakti. It is Visheshatma and then it is Sri Krishna Karshini. And why? Because it can now attract Krishna. And I want to speak about a few things that Prabhupada has said in the purports also. So he says that in the absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor. Yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. So now understand what is being said. Once you are at Brahma Bhuta stage and you are actually serving the Lord, Tatomam Tatprato Gyatva, you are now serving the Lord. So as a soul, you are serving the Lord. But can we say that the soul is the servitor and the Lord is the served? No. So just imagine now the relationship between Mata Yashoda and Krishna. Can we say that Mata Yashoda is serving Krishna? Yes. But can we also understand that Krishna is serving Mata Yashoda by bringing about all these powers and the leelas in her and giving her the ecstasy? So in that sense, the Lord becomes the servitor. There is really no difference between this. Who is serving whom? It is a unending cycle of reciprocation between the devotee and the Lord. And it is always magnified and always increasing. So it doesn't end. So that is what Prabhupada says. Prabhupada uses very few words, but if we get into the meaning and beauty of the words with the true understanding and feeling, we can, it is still like we are not enjoying the honey as yet. We are still licking the bottle of the honey, but we can get some feeling out of it and say that once I am able to open that bottle, I will actually taste the honey. and that honey is so sweet. So we can understand even through the purpose that Prabhupada has given as to the magnanimity of bhakti and what kind of bliss it can bring. Another thing that I wanted to highlight was yeah, so when I said that this is the anartha nivritti, so Prabhupada has used in his purport, he says, for him, stone and gold are of equal value. He is beyond elemental distinctions. And elemental influence is called anartha. So once he is free, that is anartha nivritti. Was there anything else that I have missed in this approach? So this is where we can now understand Brahma Bhut Prasannatma, the meaning of Mad Bhakti Labhate Param, and once that bhakti is uh, you know uh, attained by the soul, then how that person is able to then continuously dwell in the Lord, because it is infinity. You don't come out of that cycle. Your happiness keeps increasing. Why would you ever want to come back to the stage of either liberation or even fall from there to the stage of Jiva Bhuta? If I want to also ask the devotees to think about or maybe read verses 55 to 70 of chapter 2. Chapter 2 is in some sense the summary of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 18 is the Lord is also now summarizing, and there is a lot of similarity between the verses 55 to 70 of chapter 2 and the concepts that are being talked about in chapter 18 from verses 40 to verses 55. What is Brahma Bhuta stage? So, and what that fall down happens. So, even if I tell you that you are a soul, you are actually just for the fraction of a second, you are Brahma Bhuta. You are not realizing. Immediately, what happens is, and now I'm going a little bit into verses 62 and 63 of chapter 2. But because that fall down, if we are aware of it, we can actually stop ourselves from falling down continuously. At least sometimes we can catch ourselves. So just imagine that you are thinking, you are living, you are acting as if you are the soul. But Dhyayate Vishayan Punsa. So as a soul, suddenly we something happens and you think of some sense, Vishay, whether it is sound, touch, taste, smell, or sight. As soon as that happens, because it is not just that, the sense comes with the sense organ, and the sense organ is tied to the mind. The mind has memories and experiences. Dhyayate Vishayan Pumsa, Sangaste Shopajayate. So the mind now starts to dwell on it, and it creates an attachment to whatever that thought is. Imagine you are the soul. You just started, you thought of something. Maybe I'm sitting here, I smell something getting cooked in the kitchen. And therefore now I'm thinking what kind of smell that is. Then from that, kama, desire comes. From that desire, if it is fulfilled, then I get a different type of path. But if it is not fulfilled, then I get certain amount of frustration. I want to eat it right now. I want to enjoy it. And from that feeling of wanting to enjoy, I get into sammoha. At this stage, I am in sammoha. Sammoha of what? Am I the body or the mind? Am I the soul or am I this body who wants to satisfy this sense of something that is a very good smelling food? From sammoha, smriti vibhrama. Now, smriti of what? I am the soul. I am forgetting that I am the soul and I am now going to act like a body. The moment I act, I buddhinasha, because Now you're tasting, you're enjoying it. So buddhi nash happens. Buddhi of what? That you are the soul. That buddhi nash has happened. And then pranashyati. Then you are truly into the jiv bhuta state. So when we elevate ourselves through verses 40 to 53 into Brahma Bhuta stage, we should also be aware how not to fall from Brahma Bhuta stage back into Jiva Bhuta stage. And chapter 2, verses 62 and 63 tell us how not to get into that. So it is 8:30. I have taken a lot of time. So my apologies to you if I have spoken irrelevant stuff, if I have, you know, meandered a little bit, or if I have missed something. So with that, I'll stop here. I'm happy to have questions and comments and thoughts from other devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is Vinod Maheshwari. Prabhuji, you touch many points and it's also in chapter 2. So I'm not very good in this one. I'm just learning. But when I was reading chapter 2, I learned that आत्मा हृदय में रहती है और फिर उसका ये भी है कि सारे शरीर में भी रहती है. तो थोड़ा इसके बारे में बताएंगे आप? हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna, Vikas Prabhu, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, Hari Bol. Sorry, Mataji, I was speaking to myself.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that question. I'll give a very simple analogy, if that would make sense, Prabhu. So if you think of the flame which rests on the tip of the wick of a lamp, but its light is everywhere. Similarly, while the soul may be present in the heart, it because it is Sat, Chit, and Ananda, we don't truly realize its potency of Sat as in eternal. We don't, because we are under influence, we don't even realize its potency of Ananda, but we can feel its potency of Chitta, awareness. So the soul, while it is in heart, but because it has the quality of awareness, it at least has the level of awareness of what's happening in the body. And therefore, it understands what is happening. When we create and enhance this awareness, when we start to dismantle this body around us, our level of awareness increases. We can start to feel what other souls are thinking, feeling, even when they are not speaking. And that awareness can start to grow. But within the body, the soul's position need not say that it is not aware of what's happening in the body because it has that chitta potency. Does that answer your question, Prabhu? So it is like the light of the flame. The flame is in one position, but the light is spread everywhere. The awareness is spread across the body.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else with any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. You go ahead, Mataji. Thank you.
No, it's okay, Mataji. You can go ahead. I have a question, so I'll ask it on Mataji. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I just want to appreciate the class. Very nice, wonderful class, Prabhuji. The forward that you gave, you're putting us in a line with the class, what happened last and what is going on in Brahma Bhota and all this. This consciousness, this awareness, what all we learned and what all we practice, how much we listen, Prabhuji, it is always new and it's more to understand. That's what I feel. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Babaji, for the wonderful discussion and class today. Babaji, I just had a question. So, in text number 54, the first paragraph of Srila Prabhupada's purport, Srila Prabhupada says that in the absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor, yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. Prabhuji, I actually didn't understand this concept. So, Prabhuji, if you could explain that line, that there is no difference between the servant and the servitor. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So, I mean, other devotees can also perhaps explain their good. I know there are so many more on the call who are much more elevated than me. Halata Das Prabhu, do you want to answer Srimati Mataji's question? Hare Krishna. Maybe he is not there. I don't know. So Mataji, at on the spiritual platform, Prabhupada actually has said it before this that devotional service, the three things will always be there: the devotee, the uh, deity or the Lord, and the devotional service. So when we are at Brahma Bhuta state, we are at the same level as the Lord. As I had said, you cannot serve the king unless you are in the palace of the king. So you are at the same level, you are enjoying at the same level, you are enjoying the same comforts within the palace as the Lord, just because you are serving the Lord. So, or at least you have the quality of being in that palace. So, as a Brahma Bhutatma who's serving the Lord, you are the servitor. But at that stage, because you have the level of reciprocation with the Lord is also directly reciprocating. He reciprocates even to us, but we are so dim-witted that we do not understand that reciprocation in a Jiv Bhuta state. But in a Brahma Bhuta state, we can understand and appreciate because our focus is only, our total focus is on the Lord and we are serving Him. We then understand how the Lord is serving us. And that feeling that the Lord is actually serving me creates even more gratitude and even more bhakti in us to serve Him more, which then creates the Lord to be happy and compassionate and give us more bliss, and which propels us to do more. So that in that sense, what you give, you get 100% back. You give again that back, and you get thousandfold back. Then you give that, and you get a millionfold back. So when you give 100 and he gives 1,000, you both are the servitor, right? When you receive 1,000 and he receives 100, you are also both being the served. So there is no difference of the served and servitor, but the reciprocation always happens and it keeps on going. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. I hope that is clear to you, Mataji.
The feeling is disappear, Prabhu. I was a little bit away when the question was going on. The serving feeling is disappearing. Its totalness becomes more so absorbed in it. So there is no feeling remains, Mataji. That I'm serving and servitors. It just total become unimous. Just the oneness comes there. So for outside it looks like that, but for the servers, for the Brahmabhut person does not feel like that at all. But the observations look like that. That simply I can say. I cannot explain exactly meaning by the English words. I'm sorry about my English; it's a little poor. The Prabhu has a excellent English way to explain, but the bow, which is more than so absorbing. So you look from outside, looks like that, but the within that it does not.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for answering my question. Vikas Prabhuji and Radha Prabhuji.
Mm.
Hare Krishna.
one more. If we have a little time, Prabhu, I was going to ask you. When the person is traveling from Jeev Bhoot to the Brahm Bhoot directions, how does the Hare Krishna mantra helps him? What he's writing on the Hare Krishna mantra. So what is the uh, how does the Hare Krishna mantra play the role in it?
Very good. Very big question, Prabhu. So many thoughts came into my mind and went as you were asking that question.
No, I mean it
So,
helps to every devotee here. Probably we try to write on the Hare Krishna mantra, and that's what ISKCON has been insisting on each and every devotee, even so. So that's a Brahma Jiva Bhuta stage to the Brahma Bhuta stage. It's a big help to the every devotee, I believe so.
so very simply put, I think Prabhupada has said it. I cannot quote where exactly, but I remember him explaining this, that there are two stages really. One is to realize who you are, and then after you realize who you are, to serve the Lord, uh, because that's our constitutional position. We are His servitors. So from that perspective, uh, you know, the Brahma Bhuta stage is just stage one. Know who you are, right? But Krishna consciousness, when Prabhupada, it is simplicity, it's the beauty in it, as to how he named the movement also, and how he speaks of everything. So, what does Krishna consciousness mean? He's saying, forget about stage one. Just be focused on the very ultimate Krishna consciousness. Because, in a very crude example, Prabhu, if you want to take a flight, since we are now in North America, we can understand this, that generally there is a flight that takes a break across the Atlantic in the continent, and then there is a second flight that takes us back to India, wherever we are from, right? So you could think of taking first flight and then think of taking the second flight, or you could just board a flight that goes all the way to India with no break in between. So the beauty of Bhakti Krishna consciousness movement is, if we are just aware of Krishna and want to serve him, then there is no question. It becomes meaningless to think of, oh, I have now reached the continent and now I need to catch another flight, as in I have become Brahma Bhuta, as Brahma Bhuta, because in that stage you realize that you have a relationship with the Lord. At some point during that journey, you also realize what type of relationship you have, whether it is that of a friend, as a server, as a dasa, sakya, vatsalya, madhurya, or chanta bhav, and you serve in that bhav. All of those things are deep, but they will come later. I myself don't say that I have full knowledge of it or any realization of it. But the point is, if you board the train that is taking you to the ultimate destination, then you don't worry about the, you know, an intermediary destination, then waiting it there and then catching another train. So that is the Krishna consciousness. Now your question about the Hare Krishna mantra. So Hare Krishna mantra in that sense is that direct flight to Krishna, because the composition of the mantra itself has been explained multiple times by Prabhupada. It basically just says, oh, the energy of the Lord, please help me, elevate me, in my path to attain you. And that's really what the entire mantra says in a literal sense. In a spiritual sense, what Prabhupada has said, and we perhaps can realize this, that as you chant this mantra, you slowly gain the understanding that we are not the body, that we are the soul. But not only that, you also gain an understanding that this realization that I was this, I am this, I am chanting this. The chanting is giving me some sort of elevation. That itself is coming from Krishna. That connection is getting established with Krishna. All of that happens simultaneously as you chant. So you start to lose a little bit of grip from the matter starts to lose its grip on you a little bit. You start to understand who you are a little bit more, and you also understand that in this journey of elevation, there is another power who is helping you, and that is Krishna consciousness. So that's why this one mantra is what Prabhupada says we should chant, because it does all three things. Anartha Nivritti, it brings us to the Brahmabhut stage, and it also intuitively gives us the direction that Anartha Nivritti is not the end. There is something more beyond it. We become more full of gratitude. We become full of bhakti more and more. Actually, even in chanting that one mantra, we chant 1,728 minimum as such. But even if we chant one mantra with that full consciousness, you will sometimes the bhav is so ecstatic that tears flow, right? Uh, some of us would have experienced it. Our body will shiver. Sometimes there is just so much happiness that comes. So that is the uh, potency of that mantra. Prabhupada said it's actually these words are not just material words. It is coming straight from the spiritual world, and it has the potency to pull us out of this material world into the spiritual world. So that is where the Krishna consciousness of Mahamantra comes into play today. It ties us straight to the ultimate destination without having to worry about any interim steps. And the more we do it, then it's like, another crude example, it's like a swimmer. We may swim as much as we want and we may put in as many strokes. But at the end of the day, if we are picked up by the Lord and put into a boat, then the boat is going to take the journey. So, in some sense, the mantra will take its own, take us into its fold and under its refuge and guide us through the journey. So, we are also surrendering to the mantra, because Krishna is not just his form, he is also his name. The name itself creates that direct connection to Krishna. And Hare Krishna Mahamantra has 16 such connections. So I cannot explain any more than that, Prabhu. That is how powerful that mantra is.
Thank you very much, sir. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I hope that was clear, but I'm happy if other devotees want to provide their thoughts. Okay, Haribol, it's really, I've taken a long time, so my apologies to devotees for taking so much time of yours. I hope that, the class was helpful.
Wish the class never end, just the one listen more and more from you.
No, Prabhuji. So maybe with everyone's permission, we'll end the class here.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for this nectar class. And you explained so nicely these two verses. So we are so blessed to have you today and onwards. So we are looking forward to hear more from you next Sundays too. So, like henceforward. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
So Pranita Mataji joined first time today. So let us chant 3 times Hari Bol and welcome her in our traditional way. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari
Bol.
Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much,
Mataji.
Mataji. I'm
Yes.
just joining after a long time. That's
Yes.
Welcome, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Dandavat pranam to all of you.
Pranita Mataji is also from Virginia area, and her brother, His Grace Kanai Thakur Prabhu from Pune. He's a brahmachari, and he's a very senior disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So Mataji also coming. So please give your association, Mataji, whenever possible. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Hare
please.
Krishna.
Please share your realizations, educate us, Mataji, as much as you can.
Yes, Mataji also give classes to her. She is a teacher in her county school, and she also correct. But Mataji, can you please tell something about you, like about your school project?
Your name, please, Mataji.
Pranita Ambukar.
Yeah, my name is Pranita Ambokar, Prabhuji, and I work for a high school. I teach math. And I've been going through some health issues, but back in time, I would teach Bhagavad Gita to like local people in our area, young kids, chanting and meaning. But my health has been taking tolls, and I couldn't keep up with whatever I was doing. So that's basically it. But I'm very grateful to my brother Kanai Thakur Prabhu and all the wonderful devotees around here. They've been very understanding and merciful to me. I'm not doing any service. Still, they're all trying to engage me in some or other way. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for the wonderful class, Prabhu, today. So
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. We will stop here then with our
Yeah.
prayers to the
Let's
Vaishnavas.
pay to all the Vaishnavas.
पतितानां पापेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव
जय
हरे कृष्ण
नमस्ते शरदास ठाकुर की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद भगवद गीता की जय, हिज ग्रेस विकास प्रभु एंड हलाधर प्रभु जी की जय. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण.
दंडवत प्रणाम. हरि बोल.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
दंडवत प्रणाम.